Hi, hello. Welcome to Live with the Physio. I'm Charlotte, one of the physiotherapists here at Katie Bell's Physiotherapy and Wellness, and we are excited to bring Live with the Physio to you. Often we hear people saying all the time, I'm too busy to go to the physio, I've got loads of other commitments and I just don't have time to go sort out these niggles or pains or whatever it might be. So we've decided to bring it to you really. So this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you want to ask, whether it be something about posture, knee problems, running problems, Pilates, women's health questions, anything really. If you have any problems, you can drop us a message on the live chat, you can email us, and I'll give you the email at the end. But this is basically an opportunity for you to get in touch with us and ask us whatever you want to ask. Remember that the advice on here we give is based on questions that we've been asked, and there's no prior assessment that has been taken place. And if we feel that further recommendation or advice is needed, then we will give you the sort of information, the contact information needed to do this, just so we can help get to the bottom of whatever problem it is. So I've got a few questions lined up that somebody had emailed over. So the first one is from Josh. So Josh asks, I was planning on doing a half marathon last weekend. It was a last minute decision, so I ramped up my mileage quite quickly. Normally I run 5 or 10k. Leading up to the race, I started to get some shin splints, so I decided not to do the race. I rested for a bit, but now I've started running again, the shin splints have come back. Why has this happened, and what do you recommend? So Josh, a lot of people get shin splints, and particularly when they've ramped up their mileage, okay? So first of all, are you sure it is shin splints? It could be a few other things that it might be, so it's making sure that you know what it is that you have going on. Shin splints typically are pain, either sort of medially or laterally down the shin, that come on with exercise. But other things to keep in mind is if they don't settle down, it could be something a bit more sinister that's going on, maybe something like a stress fracture or what we call compartment syndrome. So looking out for other sort of red flags such as lots of swelling around your shin, hot, constant pain that isn't settling down. Okay, so keep those sort of things in mind, and if it isn't settling down, do sort of seek further help. So we'll go along with that it is shin splints. Like you say, if you're getting pain down the side of your shin and it's exacerbated when running, then that could very well be the case. So there's a few things really that can cause shin splints or add to the risk factors of shin splints. First being increasing your distance to quick run running. I see it all the time. People think, oh, there's this half marathon in a month that I really want to do, so I'm going to go from running 5k to running double, triple that distance, sort of going from 3 miles to 13.3 miles in such a short period of time. If you're used to running 3 miles, then your body is going to have adjusted to that distance, okay? So your muscular endurance, your muscle strength will be adapted to run for 3-5 miles. If you're then thinking, right, I'm going to push it up to 8 miles in a week, your body and muscles haven't got the strength to be able to cope with those increasing demands. They'll get to the sort of 3 miles or even your 5 miles, start to fatigue after that, and then if you're pushing through that distance a lot further than what you'd normally do, those muscles are just going to fatigue and become damaged and inflamed, okay? So the first thing really is increase your distance gradually, and I recommend this to everybody because your body needs time to adjust to how far you're running. Next thing is hard surfaces. Again, it's sometimes unavoidable. People are always running on the roads, and that's fine. But again, making sure that you're increasing your distance that you're running gradually to give yourself time to adapt to this distance. Another big one is shoes. You get a lot of people thinking, right, I'm going to run a half marathon, and 2 weeks before the half marathon think, right, I'm going to get a new pair of trainers because mine are looking a bit tatty now. So they buy their new trainers 2 weeks before the race. And if you can imagine your old trainers, your feet are sitting like that a little bit because the heels are worn slightly, and you've been running like this for miles and miles and miles for years, months, weeks, whatever. And then you think, right, let's get some new trainers on, and it changes your foot position slightly to maybe a bit more like that. And then you start running. That's going to change the length of your muscles. It's going to change which muscles are working when and how. So for instance, muscles like that, you're going to be stretching the outer part of your muscles on your shin a little bit more while you're running, shortening these inside muscles a little bit more. And then if you change your foot position to there, you're going to cause these muscles to tighten, these muscles to lengthen. So if you're then 2 weeks before your race changing the foot position, it's going to change your whole biomechanics, which again leads to problems with your leg, injuries, and inflammation around that area. Another big thing with your shin splints is tight and weak calves, okay? A lot of people do actually have quite weak calves and don't have the power or the strength in them that you need when running long distance, particularly if you've increased your distance really quickly. Your calves provide a lot of power when running. I think it's about 80% of your power comes from your calves. So if you haven't got the strength in your calves to ultimately lift that heel up, then these muscles down the front of your shin are going to have to work extra hard to try and lift that foot up, compensating for that weak calf. So despite some people think, oh, calf muscles are not that important, they are really important, because if they're weak, you're going to get overcompensation elsewhere, particularly in the front of your shins. So really big thing there is strengthen up your calves and loosen up your calves to offload all those other muscles around your shins from having to do the jobs that your calf should be doing. Finally, warming up and stretching as well. It is really important for running. I'm guilty of it, sort of thinking, oh, I'm just going to go for a 5-mile run, get up and off you go. Sheffield's a very hilly place. If you have been sat down watching a bit of TV, leap up and then start running up a hill, your calves haven't got time to warm up, your legs haven't got time to warm up, and your body hasn't got time to warm up. So making sure, even just doing a bit of a jog on a spot, some heel raises, anything like that, just to get your circulation going, just to get that blood flow to the muscles, is going to help massively in the long run when you then do go on the run, because your body's had time to just adjust to it. Another thing, finally, I'm going to mention, another risk factor with your shin splints is uneven surface. So obviously in Sheffield, there's a lot of hills, there's a lot of uneven surfaces that you may run on. This again changes your whole biomechanics. For instance, if you're running on a road that's sloping off, it changes the position of your ankle. It causes your ankle to have to work in that plane rather than flat. So in order to get your ankle working at a different plane, other muscles are going to have to work harder, other muscles are going to have to switch off a little bit more. So again, being aware of that and making sure that you've got the strength and the endurance to adjust to these different surfaces, particularly hills as well in Sheffield. You need a lot of calf power to get yourself up a hill. So hopefully, Josh, that's giving you a little bit of an insight as to what might be causing it. So like I say, quick summary, increasing your distance too quickly is a no-go. Make sure you're gradually increasing your distance, gradually increasing your mileage, just to give your muscles time to adapt to that. Shoes, don't change your shoes 2 weeks before a race. Okay, if you know you're going to be doing a race in 2-3 months, make sure you change your shoes at the start if that's what you're wanting to do, to give your body and your ankles and your legs time to adjust to that different positioning. Calves, make sure you're strengthening your calves, stretching your calves, getting them as strong as you can to help offload those other muscles that are going to be working more than they need to work. And finally, warming up and stretching, okay? Making sure you are doing a little bit of a warm up, you are stretching a little bit before you do go for your run, just to give your body enough preparation for that run itself. So, what do we recommend? Well, there's a few things we recommend with shin splints, okay? You probably gathered a few of them from what I've just mentioned, but other than that, stretching and strengthening your calf. Really, for a runner, you should be able to do sort of 3 sets of 25 with a straight and a bent knee on a single leg, okay? Obviously, if you're running ultra marathons or a lot longer, you'll be expected to be able to do more, really. So just making sure that you can do, for instance, 3 sets of 25 calf raises with a bent and straight knee is a good place to start. If you can't, you know you've got some weakness in your calf and you've got a goal to work towards. And again, gradually build that up. Look at your whole lower limb strength as well. Quite often when people do have shin problems, ankle problems, knee problems, there is a root of the cause. It isn't that maybe just your calf is weak. It could be that your glute is weak. And I've mentioned this before. If you've got weakness in your glute, your knee tends to drop in because your glute helps rotate that knee outwards. So if you're weak here and that knee's dropping in, it changes the direction of the force through that leg while you're running. So if your knee's dropping in and all that force is going through the inside part of your leg, you're going to be overstressing your ankle at a different place to where it should be stressed, okay? So making sure you're addressing the whole leg. So for instance, if your glute is weak and your knee's dropping in, strengthen your glute to bring that knee out and help that direction of force Go straight down the middle rather than overloading one side or the other. So like I say, really focus on strengthening that whole leg as opposed to just your calf or just your muscles around your shin, okay? Other things to look at as well as your calf is your tibialis anterior. So that's the muscle down the anterior side of your shin, and your tibialis posterior, the muscle down the inside of your shin. Depending where your shin splints are, tends to depend on which muscle is being overworked, which muscle is being affected. So it's identifying which muscle it is and then strengthening that muscle so it's able to do the movements that it needs to be able to do, and it's got the strength that it needs to be able to do as well. So for instance, getting a TheraBand, popping it around your foot, lifting your foot up against the TheraBand can help work those muscles down the front of your shin. Lifting up and out can help work that tibialis anterior, so that muscle down the outside of your shin, and sort of scooping that foot inwards against that resistance can help the tibialis posterior, the muscle on the inside of your shin. So just getting everything nice and strong around that area, and another big thing is giving yourself plenty of rest, okay? If you are getting a lot of pain in your shins, ease off running, okay? Do something low impact like cycling or cross trainer or walking, just to give those muscles time to settle down, and when they have settled down, maybe a week or two, gradually then start building up again. Really gently, start off with a couple of miles, see how you feel, maybe even less, and if a couple of miles feels fine, then gradually start to add on to that. And if you do start to notice there's lots of symptoms, strip it back down again, give yourself plenty of rest, and make sure you then keep going with your strengthening exercises. Okay, so next question. If for instance, oh sorry Josh, if there was something there that we didn't answer, do feel free to contact us at the end. I feel like I've just thrown a whole load of information at you and it's quite a lot to take on board. So if there is anything you wasn't answered there, do feel free to give us a message. So next question. Julie asks, for ages I've had a very stiff neck, which I think is linked to my work and posture. I sit at a desk all day and forget to have a walk around. More recently, I've now started to get some pins and needles sort of down past my elbow into my hand. What should I do? So, Julie, there's a few things to sort of think about with pins and needles, okay? Pins and needles and tingling could be from a nerve, it could be from a muscle, it could be from your neck, it could be from further down your arm, and there's loads of different places that pins and needles can start. There's a few sort of things we need to cover from a pins and needles and neurological point of view. Is there anything more sinister going on? Okay, so if you're getting lots of weakness into the hand, you're struggling to lift it up, or you're getting dizziness, change with your vision, your speech, your swallow, then I'd seek some sort of medical help with that. I mean, not to say that there's anything sinister going on, but it's just good to clear that. But let's say, for instance, you just started with a bit of pins and needles, muscle strength's fine, no other problems going on. There are a few things really that, like I say, can cause this pins and needles. So I'll just get a spine, just to help visualize. So we'll start from sort of the neck and work down. So from a neck point of view, a few things that can cause pins and needles is a disc bulge. I'm sure you've probably heard of that. A lot of people have heard of disc bulges. So all that is a little disc in your spine that can sometimes bulge out a little bit and compress one of these nerves that run out from your spine as well. It's not a huge thing to worry about unless, like we say, we get other problems associated with it, like your weakness. If you're getting just a bit of pins and needles, quite often that disc can just reabsorb back up with things like movement. Okay, that is just one of the things that can cause this pins and needles and numbness. The next thing are the joints. Okay, so you've got loads of little joints in between all of these vertebrae, and sometimes if you're spending a lot of time in this position typing at your desk, it closes down these joints at the back of your neck. Okay, so you can sort of see if you're in that position, there isn't much gapping between these joints at all. And that in itself can aggravate and irritate the nerves that run out of it. So thinking about your position of your neck as well is quite an important one. Thinking more peripherally, you can get pins and needles coming from your shoulder. So if you've got tight muscles, weak muscles around that shoulder, not very good stability there, that can aggravate nerves running down your arm. The same with your elbow, same with your wrist, okay? So it's sort of trying to figure out where it's coming from and how to target that, okay? So if, for instance, like we say, it's a disc, okay, there are a few things you can do. The best thing to help with that disc reabsorption is movement, okay? So gentle sort of movements with that neck from side to side, looking round. And a really good one is what we call retraction exercises. If you're spending a lot of time sat with your neck like that, just coming up through that chin, lengthening that neck out at the back, just to try and open that joint a little bit, just to try and get a bit more movement around there. Can sometimes be enough just to help that disc reabsorb a little bit. But like I say, if you are getting weakness or the symptoms aren't settling, do pop in and see us. From a facet joint point of view, so if it's sort of irritation and aggravation within those joints in your neck, again, really good thing for that is movement. Coming out of that position, into that position, just to try and open those joints up a little bit at the back. And that can sometimes just be enough to offload that nerve. Thinking more peripherally then, so thinking about arms, elbows, wrists. So you've said you work a lot at the desk. Okay, so what position are you sitting at the desk? You see this a lot of the time when people are coming in, have a desk job and do nothing much more at work than just get carried away for hours and hours doing work, gradually sinking into this sort of position. Okay, I'm guilty of it, everyone's guilty of it. But with that, you can get lots of problems from it. So for instance, if I was sat like this at my desk at work, okay, first things to notice is your cocked wrists. Okay, if you're sat typing like this, that can compress your carpal tunnel and compress the nerves that run under your hands. And that compression of nerves that come under here can cause tingling into your fingers. So if you think, oh, actually, yeah, I am sat on my desk with my wrists up like that and I'm typing like that, think about getting those wrists into a neutral position. So whether it's putting a bit of a wrist support under, just to bring those wrists from there to there, that is a really good place to start because, like I say, it stops that compression of those nerves. Next, coming to your elbow, so you've got your sort of ulnar nerve that runs under your elbow there. If you're sat like this, lots of weight going through that elbow, you again could be compressing that ulnar nerve, which runs all the way down into your hand. And if you're compressing that nerve, that in itself is going to cause some tingling. So instead of sort of slumping on a desk with lots of weight going through that elbow, think about sitting up, bringing those elbows back and putting a little bit more weight through the forearms all the way across rather than just pointing through that elbow. Okay, so that might be from adjusting your seat height, bringing your keyboard closer, bringing your mouse closer so you're not reaching and leaning, you're into this more upright position. Next, working up into that neck. So again, if you're finding you're sitting like this at a desk, closing all those joints in the back of your neck, then you need to be looking at sort of, for instance, your computer screen. Is it really low? Is that why you're sinking down? Because you're sort of gradually throughout the day trying to read what this screen is saying. If so, you need to lift that screen up, so that's going to bring you into a more upright position and prevent throughout the day gradually sinking down into this position as well. So a really big thing to think about, Julie, is what you're doing at work, what position you're sitting in, because that has a big implication on all your muscles, all your nerves. So really have a think about that. You can have a look online, just look at correct desk positioning, and that can give you a bit of advice there. But quick summary is think about your wrists, making sure they're in neutral, not in that cocked wrist position. Think about your elbows, so you're not leaning onto your elbows, or even leaning through your shoulder as well, because that can compress nerves. If you are coming up into this position, moving that keyboard and mouse a bit closer so you're not reaching as far. And then finally, looking at that computer screen. Okay, so is it really low down? Are you having to hunch down to read it? If so, lift it up and encourage yourself to sit up a little bit more so we're not compressing those joints in the little back of your neck there. So hopefully, again, Julie, that's given you a bit of advice as to what you could look at work to see if just changing something as simple as your computer screen could help. If it doesn't, like I say, pop in, come see one of us. We can do a neuro assessment to make sure there isn't anything more sinister going on, or to get to the bottom of what is causing these pins and needles and this pain. But things that you can do in the meantime, really, like I said, range of movement exercises, sitting up nice and tall. Instead of being in that position, do a few retraction exercises just to open up those joints at the back. A few sort of looking from side to side exercises, just working on that rotation through your neck. A few exercises from side to side, again giving all those muscles down the side of your neck a little bit of a stretch. Again, giving those joints a little bit of a mobilization there. And even just getting into these upper trap muscles. You've said you've had pain for a long period of time into your neck. So getting your soft ball, or your spiky ball rather, having a bit of a roll into there, okay, helping loosening off. Get up against a wall, again, pop it in and around your shoulder blade. Have a roll up against the wall to really loosen off into there. hot water bottle. Heat's really nice to help loosen off those muscles around your neck as well. So if you do feel that heat helps, pop it on there in the evening just to try and relax those muscles a little bit more. And like I say, key points from that: keep your neck moving, look out for any more sort of red flaggy type symptoms like weakness in your hand, change of your vision, your speech, those sorts of things, and seek out further help if you need it. Again, as I sort of said previously, if you do have any problems or any other unanswered questions, don't hesitate to give us an email, or like I say, book in for a free consultation. We can have a bit of a deeper look into what's going on and what could be causing your symptoms. Okay, but that is all we have time for today. So thank you for all those that joined, and if you do have any questions, do feel free to email us at hello@katiebell.com, and one of the team will be here to get back to you as soon as we can. And then if you do, like I say, have some questions, we can answer them in our next session. All right. So thank you very much, and hopefully see you again soon.